Starting a new job can be pretty overwhelming. There's a lot to learn about the company, the people, and the system of the organization in general. This video gives you a kind of a checklist of things to understand and to consider when to start. Some points are general and applicable to any job, others are more specific to system testing. Let's start with the bigger picture. There are three main areas we will look at: the company itself, so how the organization works and thinks; the people, this means your boss, your team, and other stakeholders; and the system, so the architecture, the tools, and the processes that are used. These three areas are your orientation map for your first week. So you can think of your company as a ship that you just boarded. Before you can do anything useful, you need to know how that ship works and how it looks like. The inner workings, so to say. So, how is the organization structured? How are decisions made? What is the chain of command? What is the history that leads to some decisions? And to understand how the company makes money in the end. So, the revenue model, key customers, and the business model basics. This gives you some context what makes everything else easier in the end. So, you can then go deeper into the strategy. So, hopefully, the mission, vision, and information about the quality mindset is available. Also, you should get some information on what the company stands for. So, why does it exist and what does it want to do? It is also helpful at the beginning to know some key numbers of the company, like the revenue, number of employees, and growth data of the last years. For this, it helps also to read some public reports if the company is bigger, look at and follow the company's social media. Understanding the strategy early puts you ahead of most new starters. Let's look at the company strategy in more detail. What does the company actually stand for? Knowing the goals and the mission, so what success looks like for the organization, is very important. Also understand the areas of excellence. So where does the company compete in, and does it pursue cost leadership, or does it want to have the best quality in the market? And this also helps you to understand what success looks like. So are you pursuing more efficiency, or do you want to strive for quality? Next are the people. In life and also in the company, it's all about the people and relationships. Start with your direct boss and the person you have to report to. Understand what their expectations are and how they tick. You can also ask them directly on what they expect from you in the first days. Also, it helps to go further and understand your boss's boss and up. The better you understand this chain of command, the better you can understand how decisions are formed and why. Next is, of course, the team that you are working on a daily basis. So, developers, architects, product owners, or other fellows within the testing department. Try to understand them as well, how they operate, what are their preferences in terms of communication, and just get familiar with them. Beyond that, also identify key stakeholders like customers or other departments within the company that affect your work and that you are dependent on. And the best way to connect with your team and the people is probably over a coffee or get lunch together for a quick chat. It also may be beneficial to note some basic things down, like at the beginning, the names, their roles, the responsibilities. Your future self will thank you for that. Communication is key. So, therefore, it's also very helpful to understand how people communicate in general within the company. So, chat apps like Slack or Teams, but also individual preferences. For example, if a colleague prefers email over Slack, or if they prefer to get a phone call or not. And over time, you also get a feeling whether people prefer to have a small talk or if they are more direct. So it's often just these little things that make relationships work within the company. You don't need to be best friends with everyone in a professional setting, but just to have some empathy and feeling about the other's needs and preferences can be very helpful. Now to the system of the organization. So the product, the processes, and the resources that you work with. Get an overview about the architecture of everything. So understand the interfaces, the data flows, or what the product in general stands for and how it works. Also, safety and security relevances should be known at the very beginning because they are super important. Also, understand how the development works. So, is an agile model used, or a V model, or any other company specific options? Also, in that regards, the release and branching cycles are good to know. For system tests specifically, you should understand where you sit on the test landscape. So, are you doing mainly component tests or integration, or doing the full end to end system tests? The Depending on that, also different standards may apply, like ISO or other company specific standards. For this, also, you need to understand the tools and processes that are used. Then get familiar with the tools for task, test, and problem management. If new tools that you're not familiar with are used, then get to know just the basics on how to use them. Most companies, at least hopefully, have an onboarding process. But remember, good onboarding is a shared responsibility. So learn, read the documents and guidelines that are handed to you, go through the official training list, and pay attention to the language that is spoken at the company, like abbreviations or other terms. As already said, connecting and introducing yourself to colleagues in official meetings should be also part of the official onboarding. Look for quick wins and how you can contribute with your existing experience and knowledge. I think the most important thing in the end is to be proactive, which segues to the next chapter, which is about the general mindset when starting a new job at a company. So, here are some important and basic ideas that you should have in mind. First, learn, don't impress. The company hired you for a reason, so you don't need to prove yourself on day one. Just be yourself, stay humble, and focus on learning. Listening first. This means ask more questions than you give answers. When you have a critical thought, express it through curiosity, not necessarily through criticism. Ask, why is that done this way? Lands better than, hey, this is wrong. I did it different in the past. And win early. Look for the small wins in the first weeks. Small contributions build your reputation fast. Be visible, say what you do, and show up. The first weeks set the tone for your future, so make them count.